Welcome to another exciting episode where we delve into the questions that keep scientists, engineers, and even science fiction writers up at night. Today we're talking about speed, but not just any speed. We're focusing on the maximum theoretical speed a human being can travel. Strap yourselves in because we're about to blast off into a journey that will take us from the world of science fiction to the very real barriers imposed by physics and biology. Firstly, let's talk about the everyday speeds we're familiar with. A person can run at an average speed of about 8 to 12 kilometers per hour. Cars on a freeway often move at around 100 to 120 kilometers per hour. Even the fastest production car, the Bugatti Chiron Supersport, has a top speed of around 440 kilometers per hour. But how do these speeds compare when we start talking about space travel? Well, let's consider our closest celestial neighbor, the Moon. The Apollo missions, which remain the fastest human crewed trips ever, took about 3 days to travel the 384,400 kilometers to the Moon. The spacecraft were traveling at speeds of around 5,633 kilometers per hour. That's fast. But in the grand scheme of the universe, it's like crawling. What about light speed? In popular culture, thanks to franchises like Star Trek and Star Wars, we hear about spacecraft traveling at warp speed or making jumps to light speed. But what does science say about this? In theory, according to Einstein's theory of relativity, as you approach the speed of light, time slows down relative to observers at rest. However, the amount of energy required to accelerate an object increases exponentially. Simply put, reaching or exceeding the speed of light with any object that has mass is currently beyond our understanding of physics. That brings us to the question, what is the maximum theoretical speed at which a human could travel? To answer this, we need to consider several factors: the limitations imposed by physics, the biological constraints on the human body, and the current state of our technology. Let's start with physics. The most significant barrier we face is the speed of light, which is approximately 299,792 kilometers per second in a vacuum. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, as an object with mass approaches the speed of light, its relativistic mass increases without bound. This would require an infinite amount of energy to continue acceleration, making light speed an unattainable goal with our current understanding of physics. Now that we've touched on the restrictions physics imposes on us, let's look at another equally important aspect: our own biology. The human body is a marvel of evolution, but it's not designed for extreme speeds, especially not the ones we're talking about here. The most immediate concern is the effect of G-forces on the human body. G-force is the force of gravity or acceleration on a body. Fighter pilots, who are among the few people who regularly experience increased G-forces, wear specially designed suits to prevent blood from pooling in their lower extremities, which can cause a blackout or even death. But they're dealing with speeds far, far below what we're talking about. If a human were to travel anywhere close to the speed of light, even the smallest acceleration could subject them to devastating G-forces. To give you a sense of scale, a change in speed of just 1% of the speed of light would subject a person to around 300,000 Gs, instantly turning them into a thin layer of organic paste. Lovely, isn't it? So what could we do to mitigate these biological limitations? One idea floated by scientists and futurists is the concept of hibernation or suspended animation. The idea is to put the human body into a state where metabolic functions are minimal, thereby reducing the physiological stresses associated with high-speed travel. However, we're far from turning this science fiction concept into a reality. Another concept that's been explored is that of mind uploading, where your consciousness is transferred to a machine. In this case, the biological constraints would be moot, but then we'd have to ask ourselves, is the traveler still human? All right, let's now shift gears and talk about the technological aspects. As of now, the fastest man-made object ever is the Parker Solar Probe, which was launched with the mission to study the Sun. It's expected to reach speeds of up to 692,000 kilometers per hour. Even at this incredible speed, it would take the probe about 6,800 years to reach the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, which is around 4.24 light-years away. So far, we've established that based on our current understanding of physics and biology, the prospect of humans traveling at speeds anywhere close to the speed of light seems unlikely, if not impossible. But what does the future hold? Could emerging technologies or groundbreaking theories rewrite the rulebook? let's explore some tantalizing possibilities. Firstly, let's talk about the concept of warp drives, popularized by science fiction, but also discussed in scientific circles. The idea here is not to accelerate the spacecraft itself, but to contract space in front of it and expand space behind it. This creates a warp bubble that moves the spacecraft faster than the speed of light relative to the space outside the bubble. It's like moving a rug by bunching it up in front of you rather than walking across it. While purely theoretical and far from being proven or even tested, it's an exciting concept that could bypass the limitations of special relativity. Another idea is the utilization of wormholes, hypothetical passages through space-time that could create shortcuts for long journeys across the galaxy. Though there's no experimental evidence supporting the existence of wormholes, they are a legitimate solution to the equations of general relativity. However, even if they do exist, we would still face the challenge of finding one, understanding its properties, and figuring out how to use it safely. Quantum teleportation also offers an intriguing method for traveling without moving in the traditional sense. It involves the transfer of information between particles rather than the transportation of the particles themselves. However, as of now, this has only been achieved on a minuscule scale with particles like photons and electrons. Translating this to the scale of human beings, let alone a spacecraft, remains purely speculative. So, to sum up, the maximum theoretical speed a human can travel, based on our current understanding, is nowhere near the speed of light. Both physics and biology provide significant roadblocks, yet the ever-advancing field of science keeps pushing the boundaries of the possible. As we develop a deeper understanding of the universe and ourselves, who knows what doors we might unlock? But for now, as much as we might dream of zipping across galaxies in the blink of an eye, the reality is that we're just beginning to understand the fundamental limitations of speed. Even if we can't surpass them, the quest to approach those boundaries is a journey worth taking, as it pushes the frontiers of what we know and what we can achieve. And that wraps up our in-depth look at the maximum theoretical speed a human can travel. While we may not be hopping between star systems anytime soon, the scientific and philosophical questions this topic raises are absolutely fascinating. Thank you for joining us on this thrilling exploration. Until next time, keep questioning and keep exploring.